years ago won't buy much of anything here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him, and 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability. RTD Live Talk, Tuesday night, 18th day of the month of September, and we are live and looking forward to sharing some last minute research with you guys in reference to the video I did earlier in saying that we are currently privileged to have the reserve currency as of today, and that's given the fact that I don't believe that we will have the reserve currency forever. And so every good thing usually comes to an end, and I believe when this one comes to an end, it will be quite shocking for everyone. And so with that being the case, I actually did a little research, and so that's why I'm late to the stream. But I think it will be enjoyable because I lay out statistics that you can't deny. And so going to share with you a last minute graph I put together. And then also, more importantly, as I give it a second to see who's checking in with us, any new viewers, feel free to let me know where you're watching from via the chat, or as always, the number above my head, 833-LIVE-RTD, trying to give you, the audience, a voice in this insane world we're in. And so I want to find out what some of the hot topics in the mainstream news, and let's uncover the other side of the story and see what's going on. And so, as always, let me see who's checking in. We got Chris, Shane, Patrick, Tony. What's up, fellas? How you guys doing? Philman, what's up, my friend? Says we need more supply. I have many wants. My flesh is thirsty. Yeah, there's, as of now, I really thought about the idea based upon the graph that I put together, infographic I put together in reference to the properties of money, or what we use as a medium of exchange. Adam from Australia, welcome, my friend. Watching us from the down under. How you doing? How's Australia doing? I hear something about the housing market getting kind of hot over there. I hear everything's extremely expensive. Chime in a little bit. Let me know what's going on down under. I've yet to go to Australia, so curious. And what was I saying? In reference to the infographic, yeah. So I left a link in the video last night. If you guys want, also visit that link and share that infographic so people can, inquire about those properties. But tonight we're going to actually cover some of the hardcore facts on what I believe is the scarcity of paper, and why I think that's going to be something people also need to pay attention to, because like always, and especially based upon the graphs that I'm going to show you guys, you're going to see how when times get tough in our economy, the only thing that our political figures as well as our central bank can do is create digits and bring them into existence. So tonight you're going to get a chance to see all the more important graphs, I believe, firsthand. And so also, just a little heads up that tomorrow I have a full day of guests tomorrow. And so by popular demand, the gentleman Brian, who called in last week and dropped a lot of truth bombs in reference to just the importance of getting your cash out of the banks. In the comment section, a lot of people expressed that they wanted to have him on as a guest. And so I actually reached out to him, and he agreed to join us tomorrow night. So if you guys have questions in reference to the banking sector or anything with the derivatives and the bond market, he seems to be well versed in that area. So I want to encourage you guys to tune in tomorrow episode in the evening. We're going to have Brian join us via telephone. And then also tomorrow afternoon-ish, approximately about 12:30ish, or actually at 12:30, I'm going to have William Lear join us from Perpetual Assets, and he's also going to share with us the importance of thinking outside of the conventional methods of your retirement assets. And so him and his team have a pretty good product and some services over there that I actually reached out to him, or actually reached out to me in reference to just wanting to present it to me to make sure it's something that I felt comfortable with putting before you guys. And definitely with everything that's going on, and having the gentleman mentioned last week about get your cash out the bank, and everybody knows that when things get crazy, if there's any intermediaries between you and what you think is yours, there's going to be some problems. And that really played on a thought that I had the other day in reference to how at the end of the day, all promises and claims to wealth will be A, questioned, or B, reneged upon. And what I mean by that is all the promises that have been put out there from our political figures over the last umpteen decades in reference to what people either paid into or things that people were told they would receive if they committed X amount of years towards working for a corporation or the government or whatever. The whole promise of, if you give us your better years, we'll take care of your latter years type of philosophy, hence the idea of pensions and all types of retirement and whatnot. And the recent introduction of 401ks and IRAs and all those things are they're new products, and hence the word products. They are all products. And so they all have middlemen between you and what you put aside. And I believe that in the days ahead, as the economy begins to really experience some trembles or whatnot, before there's a flat out break, whether it be from something internal or outside, there's going to be a lot of promises that will be reneged upon, and the claims that people actually have, receipts. People actually have a piece of paper that states they have X amount in their portfolio, whether it be equities, bond, whatever it is your portfolio is allocated in. That's a claim. You have a piece of paper saying that you have right to that because it's yours. But once again, it's a piece of paper, and then there's an intermediary, a third party in the form of some company, and they telling what's beyond that company as far as who they may have allocated those other funds out to, and all the stuff that no one, unless you're a financial person that's in the inside, know how that stuff operates. We all have blind faith and trusting that all those claims to wealth will be honored when the day of reckoning comes. But I disagree. So hence the idea of William Lear joining us tomorrow, and I'll actually give you guys a little hint. Share my screen with you, just so for those that have not seen. This is a gentleman right here from Perpetual Assets. He's going to be joining us tomorrow to share his thoughts on the whole retirement aspect, and how people can actually begin taking a hold of their assets legally, lawfully, through the way the way the system is designed, and very few people are aware of. You can take advantage of some stuff that he's going to share with us. And so definitely you guys want to tune in tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. for this chat here. I'm going to try to get as much information as I can, as well as we're streaming live. So you feel free to call in. So set your alarm or set a reminder. Tune in on your lunch break or whatnot, wherever you might be. 12:30, call in. I need you guys to really grill them hard, ask some serious questions so that we can get everything we need to get out of this gentleman to make sure that this is a viable tool for you guys to take into consideration. So with that being the case, enough rambling. We're about to get started. And so it's 9:51. As I mentioned, I got started late tonight because I was putting together some numbers. I was doing a little math homework, trying to give you guys something visually to look at in reference to tonight's chat, how privileged we are. If you guys had a chance to see the video earlier, it was just a clip from last night, but it really got me to thinking about how blessed we are in this current moment to have a stable currency, quote unquote, in reference to what's happening around us, and how there's a window of time between the sound of my voice and whatever happens. I mean, the monetary reset, the restructuring. I was actually hearing some stuff today in reference to this text message alert that was first time, period. Of course, first time cell phones was around the last 10, 15 years, but first time that there'll be a national FEMA cell phone text being sent out to every cell phone in this country. And it all has to do with this whole preparedness month. And then it was supposed to happen at September 20 something, but it's pushed back to October 3rd. Then there's all kind of talks about just a lot of events. Like I got an email tonight from a viewer who does some extensive work. He's into, he's into some deep stuff. And so he shared with me some numbers and stuff, how I want to say he said tonight 10 years ago, and he threw out some stuff. I'm like, whoa, it was kind of deep, so that's why I mentioned it. But it was on some stuff that really got me thinking. And so I believe all this information that we're going to talk about tonight is going to be important in reference to appreciating where you're at currently and what you have at your fingertips, and how every single Federal Reserve note counts towards the greater picture that could leave you better off in the future in a lot better position than if you were not aware of what's happening and able to actually utilize this blessing, this gift that we have of being aware and being awake to be able to take action. So with that being the case, let me get to some what's going on here. It says trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions. We're going to eventually run out of trees. Yeah, but here's the thing, Shane. You're going to see pretty soon that those trillions upon trillions you talk about, they're all digital. And so that is the unique thing that we're going to talk about that plays into the scarcity of actually the physical, tangible pieces of paper that's out there. So the trillions upon trillions we're talking about, according to what the Federal Reserve shared with us on their website, is all digital form. And so what I'm going to share with you guys tonight is just what they tell us is, been put in circulation according to their accounting measures that they tell the public. As we all know, there could be more behind the scenes, but especially because they stopped the M3 chart, M3 money supply, back in 2006. And that was a very crucial piece of information on the accounting practices of all accounts, all the financial assets and whatnot was in tune with that one. But they stopped that in 06, a couple years before the big 08, 09 Great Recession. And it's no coincidence that whenever they are in a position that their backs being against the wall and they are doing some shady monetary practices, they always cut off charts. Like they just recently cut off their balance sheet chart. They're no longer going to update it. I wonder why. So yeah, anyway, it says, for example, China, what I've been missing here. It says, Spirit is right. Trump is playing a dangerous game. Yeah, that game, I don't doubt it. I mean, it's not a friendly game he's involved in, because he's, the more and more I think about what's happening in the political realm with this, these tariffs. He's going to continue to press that tariff button, and China's going to play along with it for so long. But at the end of the day, it buys China more time before they, have their complete infrastructure set up with the Silk, one Belt, One Road, and all the things they're doing in Africa. So the tariffs could be a part of the plan, because think about Trump did meet with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin this year. And so it's good to say that when doors were closed, they talked heavily about, I wouldn't doubt they're probably playing this game together, we could be helping them set up for the next monetary system. And they're giving us time to, do all the political crap that we're doing here to, wind things down, because of the idea that there's too much debt and there's going to be a lot of broken hearts when those promises and those things I mentioned earlier are reneged upon. It says Taylor rule equals junk math, but the majority only care about pleasing the flesh, which is unpleasable. Correct. There'll always be more cravings. It says Mike, there will be a SMS test, and the next day ICE will be raiding multiple places. This really sounds as a way for Trump's mission to ping every cell phone and find some people. Ooh, that's a deep one, Spirit. That's a deep one there. And so they're going to send out, and so that will be another question where they're talking about, this whole SMS, this national text that will be sent out has never happened before. And what I find to be interesting about it is the fact it's the first time that, because our current president is a Twitter guy. He lives on Twitter, it appears. I'm assuming that's him, but he lives on Twitter. So he's been utilizing Twitter more than CNN, especially because they hate him, and Fox News and all the conservative news stations. And so it's interesting how this president decides to come up with a national text message that will be sent out on a particular day as a test all along the time of this National Preparedness Month and all these executive orders that no one talks about. So it's going to be interesting to see, how and what the text message will say, because it will be the best way for him to get directly to the people. Like if wherever it comes from, I'm not sure what entity of the government will send it out, but he could literally probably have from his phone access to that main server that goes out to everyone in this country and say something like, today, because think about it, if he was to give a national address to go on air live 9:30 at night, like most presidents have done throughout history, and to share some bad news like they always do, like whenever it's time to go to war, or I think the last time Obama was on for a national crisis emergency, it was over Syria, and how he was saying that the red line was drawn and all that stuff. But, long story short, we didn't really go in there, but we funded all the what they call it. What's the people call that? They're not for, but they're not against the moderates. Yeah, we United States government funded the moderate, regimes, and that as if that's like any different. But anyway, so what was I saying? Lost my train of thought. But okay, so Obama's the last president that gave a national televised, state of emergency type of situation back in 2015 or whatever. And so now we have a president who loves social media. So here he is, a Twitter guy, and all of a sudden he now has basically access to all our cell phones to send us a direct message. And the question would be, I want to pose to you guys right now, is what just play out some scenarios. No one knows, of course, until the day comes, but will it be just a test, like, this is a test, please, whatever, dial 1 to make sure you received it? Or would it be like, so my fellow Americans, this is your president, Donald Trump here. I'm here to tell you that, A, B, C, D, E, please don't be alarmed. This is going to be whatever. That would be something like we could never imagine. The president tweets us directly saying, brace for a crash landing or something like that. I mean, that's all, like, hopefully it doesn't, nothing of that nature. But with access to cell phones, it'd be a much better delivery method, is what I'm saying, than going on national television, because the powers that be to control the mainstream media, they can easily, in the middle of his speech, he'd be telling the world the truth, or some form of a truth that goes against the narrative. He's not reading off the script, the monitors that all the prior presidents love to read off of, and he's telling it straight from the heart. They would cut the station off quick, and it'd just be a beep, station is no longer available type crap. So a tweet will work out good. Anyway, so I'm rambling again. It says, who the hell wants you garbage fiat? Good point, man. Low blood pressure. Who wants it? It's not a matter who wants it, but as of now, that country, Xi Jinping, has basically positioned that piece of paper as fiat, just like the dollar. But the fact that he's willing to put some gold on top of that, with the whole oil futures contracts, you can redeem it in yuan, or you can return those yuan or renminbis in for gold. So that is the closest thing to some form of gold backing since 1971, because the last one who attempted to back their currency by gold, we all know what happened there. So I'm sure if you guys have been following news for a while, you know what happens if you're not a global power. But China was able to do it as of now, and apparently it's gaining momentum. It says Trump didn't come up with it, Obama did it. With Feldman, we talk about with the text messaging or what? Because I don't recall ever hearing about the whole national text message stuff, but I could be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. Please do. It says Hillary for prison. Yeah, and that's another thing. I read something about there's about 40,000 indictments right now all across the country. And I was watching, I can't think of his name, but a guy I follow, he was saying how, what did he say? He said that there's been 40 new judges and magistrates that's been appointed, as well as a lot of politicians that's all of a sudden resigning. So, man, just so much back news we're not hearing about. He says, Red October, one ping only. So the question, Shane, in that one ping, or that text I'm assuming you're referring to, what's some possible things that we could hear it, because it's going to be, what is it, 30, how many characters can you get in one single text? I don't know, but 100 characters or something like that in a single text? Okay, here's a question, and let me know in the chat. Two options. When this national text is delivered to your cell phone, mine as well, everybody, will it be literally like a test? Will it say test? Something simple, nothing to read into, just a generic national emergency text? or will it be some detailed information that everyone will have to not acknowledge and recognize? So, from those who heard my question in the chat, give me a 1 or a 2. 1 is just going to be a generic text with nothing to read into. 2 is going to be something that would be very informative and well worth the wait as far as all the stuff that's been going on behind the scenes. So, let me hear your thoughts. 1 or 2? What do you guys think? 2. I got a 2. Can I get a 1? Can I get a 2? Can I get a 2? Can I get a 1? Can I get a 1? Do you think Canada will cave and just sign into Trump's new NAFTA, or just go by bilateral agreement? Ooh, that's a good one. 1. Okay. 2, if it would probably say he was banned from Twitter. Okay, the question was, do I think, in regards to NAFTA. Well, first of all, as Trump mentioned, they're no longer going to call it NAFTA because it has some type of negative connotation behind it, whatever he's aware of that we were not aware of. I would call it the United States of America Job Stealer Act. The United States of America Job Stealer Agreement. That's what it was called. And so the next one's going to be Bring Jobs Back to America Agreement. And so I think Canada will have to cave in because they don't want to be on the outside looking in, and they don't want to miss out on the opportunity to get involved in this radical shakeup that's happening. And I must admit, it's very concerning. Someone says, was that a 0? Tony, that wasn't an option. So anyway, let's get into the primary subject for this evening, just because I'm going to keep this one short. Because as I mentioned, for everybody just tuning in, tomorrow is going to be a busy day. I have 2 guests joining us. One is going to be Mr. Will Lear from Perpetual Assets. He's going to tell us about the programs that he has there where you can actually take your actual retirement portfolios into your own possession, as well as crypto stuff as well. So that might be something worth considering. And I think also when we get done talking about these graphs here, I think more people might be willing to, think about that just a little bit. Can't give advice, but you might want to think about it. I would advise you to, especially if you're heavy in the game as far as having put your whole life into the system. That's one thing. Like I personally haven't put my whole life into the system, so I'm not really, in a position where I'm like, because the whole retirement aspect, I never bought into that anyway, so I wasn't like head over heels trying to make sure I was funded. Got some stuff to play with, but anything, nothing that I'm really concerned about losing. American Union, but Canada stores maple syrup. Yeah, we can. I'm sure we got trees here. Or whatever. We can get it done here. Any good Chinese food in Detroit? Any good Chinese food in Detroit? Yeah, we got a place. There's Chinese food. There's Chinese food places, Coney Islands, and gas stations, and marijuana places on every major intersection off of 8 Mile, which is the dominant street, on outside of Detroit. But there's Chinese spots everywhere. I'll say my favorite place is on 7 Mile Road. If anybody know where that's at, probably not. If you're from Detroit, you know what 7 Mile's at. But anyway, so I want to get into tonight's graph, man, because I want to get your thoughts on it, and I want to really reveal to you how important it is to appreciate the privilege that we have as a current reserve currency because of the scarce nature of the total supply of cash. And with that, I'm going to pull up this graph right. Let me find this graph that I just put together. And so this was a last minute scramble. I had to add my numbers up. My numbers still came up a little off, so I'm probably not. But these are real to life graphs. And so let me give you guys a little introduction to the Federal Reserve graphs here, and share with you. I hope you guys can see. Let me know in the chat if you guys can see and read for yourself. But the whole conversation for tonight is just the importance of understanding the true nature and the privilege you have as American citizen of being able to obtain cash at this very moment, given the fact that it's very scarce. And so this is what I mean by scarce. And so every graph here is let me pull the screen up. Every graph here is a accounting measurement for a certain amount of financial assets. So we have, the very first one at the bottom left it says total Federal Reserve notes in circulation. So this goes back to like 1950 when there was, as of here, like $200 billion is this bottom part here. And we had approximately, I can probably scroll back on a real graph. Let me see. But anyway, you see how small it is. But one of the things you should notice is the somewhat exponential trend upwards that each one of these graphs have. And it all started right after 1971. So here we have 1971. If you guys can see, hope you guys can see my, you probably can't see my, where we at? So over on that side, on the very far side, you guys get the idea. So to the far right of these graphs is as of like this week or whatever the most recent updated was given to the Fed, or the Fed came up with. And then the far left of all these graphs goes back, I can tell you the top one goes back to 1970. The bottom one goes back to 1945 probably. The top right one goes back to 1980. And then the bottom right one goes back to like 1971. But the rarity and the privilege we have as United States citizens are that we're in a country that has the current reserve currency of the world. And so that's a blessing. And so as of now, the world still acknowledges it and receives it. And so the whole idea earlier was to really appreciate the opportunity we have, given all the things that's happening around us, and to take full advantage of the opportunity we have to utilize these debt instruments while they still have somewhat of some purchasing power to them, to be able to make sound decisions with them as far as your ability to educate yourself and to be able to redeem. The whole idea of Federal Reserve notes prior to 1971 was redeemable internationally for gold. The dollar was good as gold and all that stuff. That changed. Then you go back even further, the 60s, silver was removed from gold. And you go back even further, we got a 33 where gold was taken out of circulation from the public Americans' hands. And so at that point, the Federal Reserve note became solely a fiat currency. We went from having United States notes to just Federal Reserve notes. And so this is our primary currency here. So as you guys can see, once we went off the gold standard, this is the bottom left one. Once we went off the gold standard from 1970, the printing press has just been on. Along with these graphs that are all going up, national debt has gone up. So as the amount of debt came into circulation, so did the money supply as well. And so the very bottom one gives you an idea of how much paper, and I mean how much paper is on this planet. I'm talking about, and most of this figure, this $1.5989 trillion is denominated, it's broken down predominantly hundreds, 50s, 20s, 5s, 10s, 1s, but it's scattered all over the planet. And it's good to say, I didn't get into the details of it, but it's good to say, and we all know that there's not $1.5989 trillion in banks for people to actually be able to go withdraw. And so that's going to lead into something else. But think about how scarce that is. There's $233 trillion worth of global debt. I mean, there was some type of contract or something taken out, and funny money was created. So it's basically 233 trillion debt dollars were brought into existence, and there's only 1.598 of physical cash on this planet, of which a good portion of this, in my opinion, is tucked away in all the countries in South America because this is their reserve savings for citizens. They hoard dollars, and anything outside of the United States of America, there's buku dollars in Africa from all those troubled nations. China sitting on some, all Europe sitting on some. So people want paper, and it's good to say that right here in this country, we might. I don't know how to find out information for it, but we might have half of this 1.5 trillion sitting in vaults somewhere, probably in the Federal Reserve vault, because we all know that your bank doesn't have sufficient cash to meet all the demands. And so with $1.9 trillion, that right there is a very small number in comparison to all the money that's in the financial system, according to what's shared on the Federal Reserve. And that leads me to the very next one above. So the bottom left, top right, bottom to the top left, it's the funds readily accessible for spending. So if you were to go to your bank and you were to tap into one of your accounts, what they should have access to, if need be, is 3.8. That's total. So that's, that includes the currency, traveler's checks, demand deposit, which is your checking account, and CDs, basically. So between CDs, checking deposit, and traveler's checks and the currency, that equals 3.8. So you basically take 3.8, subtract the 1.5, you get 2.3. So there's a total of $2.3 trillion worth of checking account deposits. So everyone who's watching me, if you bank in this country, your funds, however much you have, is included in this 2.3 trillion that's in a checking account of some kind, or in some CD or something like that, or in traveler's checks. And so that's 2.3 trillion. So just to show you how concerning that should be, is what I'm trying to get at, is the fact that if there's only 1.59 trillion worth of paper in existence today, and there's 2.3 worth of checking accounts, CDs, traveler checks in your bank. So whether it's one of and I read something that the banks with the most deposits are of course the two big to fail banks. I think it's Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan Chase. Those are the three biggest banks, which probably have a good portion of this 2.3 trillion in checking accounts. And so keep that in mind. And then that goes to the very next one here. And so divide bottom right, far left, bottom right, yeah. It says total saving deposits at all depository institutions. So here you have basically all saving accounts. So we have the checking accounts, top left, 2.3 with some CDs mixed in there. Then the very bottom right is 9.1 trillion worth of savings. So your grandmother, your granddad, your father, your mom, your dad, all that savings is 9.1 trillion. And hence, this is where it should get kind of alarming. If there's 9.1 trillion in savings all across this country, 330 million Americans, give or take some, foreigners that live here who have accounts, is 9.1 trillion. And it's good to say foreigners have, deposits here, but a good chunk of these funds here are in the too big to fail banks. Majority of this 9.1 trillion is probably located in the too big to fail banks, which is about 6 or 7 banks or so. And so the systemic risk of those banks and saving deposits as well as checking deposits, and it only being 1.59 worth of cash, should be something that people should say, So basically, if everybody decided, I want to go withdraw something, if it's 9.1 and 2.3 worth of checking savings, so that's a total of 11 or 11 something, and there's 1.5 of actual paper, think about that. Do the math now. And so because I zoomed out my screen, are people with me on this? Are you feeling me on this? Give me a thumbs up if you see what I'm trying to get to here. Or give me a thumbs down if you're not getting me, because I want to make sure I try to get this across, because I think this plays into the privilege you have. Because right now, if you're watching this, if you're paying attention, if you see how important this is, you realize that 1.59, you are one of the rare few who actually can see that there's not much cash available come the day of some type of banking meltdown. And we know what happened with the Great Recession. So I got one thumb up, so only one person out here getting me. Come on, people, give me a thumbs up if you get me. If not, I gotta start all over again. Low blood pressure. I didn't even got on the FDIC. So Kenneth gave me a thumbs down. Elaborate on that thumbs down so I can either correct myself, or if I'm wrong, I have no problem in being told I'm wrong. I'm just putting together what I believe the wisdom that's granted to me has revealed to my eyes. And then also, since you're giving thumbs up, go ahead and hit that like button so people can get informed with this. And so, where I left off was understanding how much of a privilege it is to see. You can see firsthand the scarcity in paper for today. Now, before I get done with all this, this is with this bottom left one here. This is going to change, because the next hiccup, they're going to have to take this boy up to the moon, because there's going to be an injection, and then it's going to be a bank run at the same time. So you're gonna have them print funny money, and people gonna be running to go get it out. So all of these graphs here are gonna go just like, you know how they're going like this? It's gonna go whoop, or this way. Yeah, this way is better. They're going this way, they're going this way. Now it's just gonna go straight up, and that's not gonna be fun. But for those that are aware, you recognize the privilege you have now, realizing the importance. And this plays into what my prior guest Brian mentioned last week when he said, "Get your cash out of the banks." And so at the end of the day, you know, it was my opinion. This is all my opinion and my analysis and assessment of these graphs here. But if you know that there's not enough cash to get out of your bank, imagine if you're in a small local town or something where even credit unions, they all in here as well. Imagine if if the whole town run down to the local bank, and it's, you know, say it's 20,000 people and there's only 5-6 banks. You think they got the funds for everybody? And so people have been saving their entire lives and putting it in banks, and they're not getting nothing on it. But you got people with, you know, buku cash in these banks, and they're gonna be running to the bank. And if there's only 1.5, of which a good portion probably not even in this country, imagine if everybody got wind of some type of hiccup and they all try to go down. You're not getting nothing. That's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, I'm saying you're not getting nothing. So not only are you not going to be able to get any cash, but you're not going to be able to get any of your other promises or your other claims on wealth, because how will you cash out? You know, how you going to redeem? You know, how you going to withdraw from how you going to try to sell your stocks last minute and then convert into cash? It's going to be digital blips on the screen, and the only thing people will be able to do temporarily, because it's good to say credit cards won't work either because credit will freeze. And so most people don't realize every time you swipe your credit card, that's the creation of funds. That's not the deduction of your funds. And so you could probably have some money transferred into your account and use your debit card, which will withdraw your funds. But yeah, I don't think that's going to work either. So yeah. Okay, so let me get back to this. And so the very top right, it says total household financial assets. And so this is the M2 money supply. And so it's the combination of all the things we discussed right here. And so if you take the 3.8, the 9.128, you add that up, it should total $14 trillion. And so I didn't do it on my calculator, but just off the top of my head, that number looked like I'm short a couple dollars. So I'm not sure, but this is just these graphs and the numbers they gave us. So there could be some type of funny business on their part. But anyway, so here we have $14.2 trillion worth of household. So every household in this country, you combine everything up that they've worked for, bought, sold, and they got stored away for a rainy day, equals $14.2 trillion. And this is just in banking. This ain't nothing to do with your portfolios for your equities and bonds and all them other products that's out there. This is just what people think is safe and FDIC approved or FDIC backed. And for those that don't know, FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, is a government entity that is broke. So they don't have, put it like this, they don't have 14.246 trillion handy to make sure you're compensated for any type of loss of currency. So the total household finances include saving deposits, money market deposits, CDs, i.e. small time accounts, or money market mutual funds. So this hits into that investment aspect. So you got some banks or whatever, they try to get you with, deposit your money here and, it'll grow, whatever. So the mutual fund aspects of all combinations, everything packed together, just give you a fund. All those things included equals 14.2. So to backtrack, there's 14.2 of household assets, period. This not including the credit card debt, 1.2. I could have put that on here, but I wanted to just keep it straight up and real with you guys as to where you stand. Because if you are an adult, you bank, you're in here. There's 14.2, and then there's 9.8, 9.1 worth of savings, 2.3-ish worth of checking accounts, and there's only 1.5 worth of cash. You do the math. How will you be able to withdraw 14.2 into your physical possession when need be when there's only 1.5? People, it's not happening. It ain't happening. And so this, I like Gregory Manarino, and so I'm gonna tag him and share this with him because he's one of the guys that talks about total amount of financial assets from currency, the disparity. It's like a 14-to-1 ratio, according to these numbers here. And it's good to say if everybody tried to go get something, you won't get anything. You're going to take a haircut. You're going to take a major loss if your entire world is tied up into the banking system. This is a representation of what's happening inside the bank. This is the health of the banks. So anyway, questions, feel free to ask them or call in. Let me know what's in your mind. It says, where would you get 25 to invest in a T-bill? Where would you get 25 to invest in a T-bill? That's a good question, Nicholas. I don't know. Wouldn't invest in a T-bill, but that's not me. We're coming back. It says Federal Deposit Insurance. Crap. Oh, Federal Deposit Insurance. And it says, Mike, hello from Detroit. Hello, we got a Detroiter in the house. How you doing, hot welder? What's up, my friend? You on the east side or west side? It says, Omnibone, the Swiss Central Bank, I heard that they has been buying up debt and raising the markets to help the Federal Reserve. I don't doubt it. Oops. Got a call coming in. Let's see who it is. I believe I know who it is. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello?
Tim here, Mike.
Hey, Tim. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Hey, I don't mean to sidetrack you. You got a great podcast going tonight. I just had one question I wanted to ask you. I'll let you go.
Yes, sir.
So I believe, as you probably do, this is going to end in hyperinflation.
Mm-hmm.
I have money on the stock market, which I would consider the most risky, then money in the bank, which I would consider the second most risky, and then just holding some cash, which I would consider risky in the long run.
Yeah.
So do you believe I'm preparing myself? I don't want to buy right now in the bubble, real estate or anything. And so I'm betting on what some economists are thinking. We're going to hit a period of depression anywhere from 2 weeks to a couple of months. And then they're going to turn on the digital printing, where they hyperinflate because that's all they can do.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll get that depressionary state in time to buy real estate, or do you think we're going to go straight to hyperinflation?
Here's the tricky part about that, because never before has a world reserve currency in a digital age experienced the type of hyperinflation that we anticipate. And so it can be a fast burn or a slow burn. And it's already, we're already experiencing a massive inflation. If you look at the purchasing power of a dollar, it's just been 2% over the last 100 years. But if we were to reach some type 20, 30 type of, inflationary, it could get out of hand, or that could be the cue for them to reset the monetary system and introduce something else. So they may not end up having to print all of that funny money or try to, create those fake digits to prop up stuff. So there might be some type of introduction of something else along with that. So there's no telling. That's the problem. We have no real measuring or guidance other than getting glimpses from Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Argentina. We can get a glimpse, but those are all isolated events because those currencies are all domestic. So international currency we're talking about here, where it's never been played out before to my knowledge. So even if we were to use like Rome, for example, that was a long process before they went belly up and burned down, according to history. So no telling, my friend. No telling. But it's going to be a global. It has to be global because it's dollar related. And as I mentioned, these 1.59 pieces of paper are everywhere.
Yeah, it'll be global for sure. I agree with that. All right. Well, you're not making me feel much better, Mike. I'll let you get back to the podcast.
Yep, Tim, if you can, tune in tomorrow at 12:30. I'm having a gentleman who's going to share with us some insights on how to be proactive and take advantage of the product service that they offer that could help you put some stuff in your possession if you want to feel a little bit more at peace, give you something to think about. So tune in tomorrow if you want.
12:30 p.m.
Yep, 12:30. Yep, we'll be here. All right, my friend.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep, have a good one. Yeah, man. Appreciate you calling, Tim. And so that was a very good question because, we have no prior reference points of how things will play out, but we see no matter what, it's going to be sketchy because, and tonight's conversation is just merely on the supply of cash, the lack thereof, but more importantly on the privilege you have because you're now aware. You see the graphs for yourself. And speaking of which, if you guys let me, like always, I want to make sure that I make it available for you guys. And so I'm going to put the, if you want, I'm going to put the graph, I'm going to put a copy to the graph here. We have a caller. So I'm going to share the graph with you guys so you can share it if you want or have something to look at yourself. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Mike from Chicago.
Mike from Chicago. How you doing, buddy?
All right. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for calling in.
Beautiful, beautiful podcast, man. Love it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thanks for sharing it.
I got one question for you.
Yep. Go ahead.
Since we're in the, we're right before the, the stuff hits the fan.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, would it be a good time right now to refinance on your mortgage?
That's a good question, and I'm not in a position to give advice, financial advice, and so I want to make sure I make that point. I'm not an advisor. I'm a man with an opinion, but I can share with you my opinion, and so that's something I've been thinking about as well. Just from a standpoint of a lot of people where the housing market is hot right now, as far as every house being, overly priced in a sense, over evaluation is very extremely high. So refinance, I think that has to do with the rates type of stuff, depending on what type of rates you have. I know rates are going up, so if you could find something that was lower than what you have now, I'd imagine that would be a good opportunity. But to my knowledge, unless you got some type of situation there, you're gonna probably be paying a higher rate, so you're gonna be basically paying more money. So you see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So that's just my opinion, because I think the rates are going up from 2-3 years ago, definitely. So yeah, and that's a problem because people are still looking to get in houses right away quickly. They're willing to pay anything because they're afraid of the rates going up higher by the end of this year or next year. So the housing market will continue to inflate because people are rushing to houses. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, currently right now 4.8.
4.8.
And my mortgage says they can get me down to 4.3. But my loan, the balance of my loan would go up $11,000. So pretty much I'd be taking the cash out, the equity.
Yeah. Yeah. That's me not being a real estate guy or not being, aware of that. I'd rather leave that alone and have you get some serious advice on that, because that right there sounds like it could be an opportunity in there, but also, you ultimately, I'm sure you're prolonging your mortgage anyway by re-upping basically. So that being the case, I would say, man, pray on it. Go get some serious financial advice from people who can give you something solid to work with. But it sounds like you probably got an idea what you want to do, and if you come out on top with a couple dollars, I'm sure you know what to do with it. So, yeah. So right there, my friend, go get some true financial advice, but then also considering the long-term aspect of what you're getting into and what's to come. Because a lot of people who gonna give you financial advice not gonna tell you that there's gonna be a market correction in the next 2 or 3 years, and your house probably be worth half its value anyway. So yeah, don't expect to hear that type of advice from no financial advisors, I'm sure, but that's their profession. So I'm gonna let them do what they do. But I shared my opinion with you, Mike. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, my friend. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. Yeah. That's a serious question there, of which I don't feel qualified to, even share a solid opinion. So I'd rather leave that alone. But you sound like you already kind of know what you got in mind. But on my mind, first thing is refinance. I'm thinking I'm anticipating some type of market correction where all houses are going to be on sale pretty soon, and that's going to be the time to acquire if you have the opportunity to do so. But anyway, I'm getting off track. Let me get back on track here. What's going on here? Am I missing anything? How will you move around with your metals? If dollars dies, how will you price your metal holdings? If the general public at large barely knows about metals, and Mark Dice showed us that people would. Good point. So the biggest thing is, the question was, how would you move around with your metals if you had to, relocate or something like that? And then, got a caller. Mommy, make sure you remind me of that thought so I don't forget. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike. It's Michael from San Diego.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said it's Michael from San Diego.
Michael from San Diego. We got a lot of Michaels on the line tonight. How you doing, Michael?
Good. You was Michael as well, but I think you like Mike better, right?
Yeah, whatever comes out. It's usually Mike. Yeah, I got a couple nicknames, but it's whatever. But anyway, what's on your mind tonight, my friend?
Well, I don't know about the East Coast, but what I've noticed out here, the banks on the West Coast, is that many of the banks have moved their ATMs inside. Actually in the bank. And then, like, at the stores, you notice Walmart and other places, all the ATMs are inside. So I'm thinking, if there's a situation where everybody says, maybe the president calls for martial law, everything's locked up, everything's closed, they're not even going to have a chance to use their card because guess what? It's inside the bank and the bank is locked. And I mean, I've even noticed this at the convenience stores, the little independent kiosk where you walk to the back of the store and get money.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to be locked up too. And I think people they're not going to have anything.
Oh, yeah. People.
They might have something in the bank, but they're not going to have a choice of, are they open? Can I get it? Can I not get it?
Yeah. And
I think they're just going to lock everybody out completely.
Yeah. And so that's a very good point there. And that hints on two ideas came to mind. I read an article about in Europe how they're basically removing ATMs out of the public period because of the whole push for cashless. So they would prefer people actually swipe their cards as opposed to having the option to go get cash. So that's one reason in Europe I know they're doing it. And then also here, given the fact that the last crisis was a bail out, the next one going to be a bail in. And so in order to bail in, you got to limit access to funds. And so that plays into what could possibly be in the works of, if there's a bail in, that means all depositors are the second, third tier equity holders or whatever they call shareholders. And they're the last in the barrel to get fed, of which, as I mentioned here, with this 1.59 in actual physical cash, the big wigs, the heavy hitters, the shareholders of the company, they're going to get some cash access probably firsthand. And then everybody else will get shares into the bank itself as an investor. And possible scenarios could be down the line, they come out with their crypto and they force you to withdraw with using their crypto on your phone or whatever they try to give you. So those are all things I think about, as I mentioned, like how to monitor and precisely manage a crisis like this would be to lock everything up and then give them an alternative to some type of digital currency, which can be some type of crypto base. That's just my thoughts.
Right. I had heard after the storm in Puerto Rico, people were only allowed to have $30 a day.
Yeah.
You could be a millionaire in Puerto Rico. It didn't matter. You were only getting $30.
Yeah, but
people were really suffering. You couldn't buy food or gas or anything with $30.
Yeah.
Where's that going to get you?
Right. And then with the very
around
first
the island, but not off the island.
Yeah, and with the very first example of a bail-in in Cyprus, it was a situation where they could only withdraw, I think, 50 euros or something per day or something like that. And so the lines to get that 50 was through the roof. And then they even had to hold up on pensions and Social Security payouts, and all the senior citizens were up at ease because they couldn't withdraw their funds, from their monthly checks or whatnot. So, yeah, it's going to be very chaotic because there's going to be a mad rush to cash, but the public has no clue. Oh, yeah. The public has no clue about this graph in reference to how much cash is actually available. So you imagine going to the bank, call yourself, I'm going to the ATM. You late, it's too late. You're not going to be able to get what you think. And on top of that, if you can get there first, you're going to get $400. You know what I'm saying? If that, whatever your bank limit might be. Right. So, yeah, that's interesting. Because also keep in mind, most people don't realize that banks only keep, I'm sure, maybe 50,000, 60,000 or something like that, something small on hand for actual demand deposits that come through there. And anything over 1,000 or I think anything over 9,000, 10,000, they have to inquire as to why. And I heard from some YouTubers that said it takes a day or two. They got to go get it and stuff like that. So if you're looking to get some big money out of there, it ain't happening. So, yeah, but that's we're in a blessed position to be aware of this, to take advantage and to, take a little something out extra if we need to, whatever, however you arrange your finances. So that's what it is, Mike.
Right. I know. I went to a bank one day. It wasn't my bank. I had $100 bill. This was recently down in San Diego. Mm-hmm. I said, I need 5 20s. I need you to break this $100 bill for me.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we're not allowed to do that. I said, what do you mean? I'm in the United States. This is U.S. currency.
Yeah.
Well, you have to have a bank account. I said, why do I need an account with your institution? I'm not putting money into the bank.
Yeah.
All I need is change for my $100 bills, and I'll be on my way. And they wouldn't do it. They refused. And I went to 3 banks that day.
Yeah.
Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and there was another little local bank.
Yeah.
And they all refused. Said, we're not allowed to do that. And it got me thinking, like, how much money do they even have in their register or in their boxes if they can't even break a $100 bill?
Yeah.
And I wound up having to go to the Walmart and buy, I bought like some couple Gatorades, and I was able to get $100 change.
Yeah.
But I really wonder. I think they're really operating on a very thin margin where they're only giving a certain amount of money out every day.
Yeah.
And that's why for the last year I've been telling my friends and family,
Mm-hmm.
get your money out now. Don't let it be their choice, because if it's their choice, you're not going to have it. So
Yeah.
be proactive. That's the only thing we can do. We can educate each other. Channels like yours, I share on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Some people react. Some people freak out. Some
Yeah.
people say, I'm a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy person. I said, that's fine, but, when the bank shut down, who are you going to talk to?
Yeah.
No one's going to be open for you to even call. Or
Yeah.
internet might be down too, so what are you going to do? You're going to be calling me names, you're not going to have any money. So
Good point.
all we can do is educate them.
That's true, man. But also, take, share with them the graphs or whatnot, because pictures are worth 1,000 words, is what I heard. So if that is the case, share graphs or whatnot, and hopefully they'll inquire and come back to you with some questions. So, but Mike, appreciate you calling, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, and also, as I
Good
mentioned,
night.
tomorrow's going to be a full day, 12:30 with the William Lear from Perpetual Assets, and 9:30 we're going to have Brian, the banker insider, who's going to share some information that he's going to be real good. So tune in tomorrow for me.
What time? Same time?
So tomorrow's will be 12:30 with a live stream with William Lear from Perpetual Assets, and then
12:30 in the afternoon?
Yep, 12:30 in the afternoon if you can.
Oh.
And then what else we got?
Tomorrow I can do that.
Yeah. So other than that, so Will Lear is going to be joining us tomorrow afternoon, and then because the question is, he's a retirement guy who's able to help people position themselves to withdraw all their funds and manage it themselves. So he's going to share with us how that works and whatnot. So I think for those that are heavily in the markets, heavily invested, might be something you want to listen to just to get some ideas. So.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I really enjoyed it when you had the other fellow on from Venezuela.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Really great.
Yeah, I learned a lot that moment. I learned a lot, man. So I definitely always looking for people like that. So.
I didn't know you were down there, right? You were down there recently. So.
Yeah, no, I was down. No, I was in Venezuela over a decade ago when things were a little bit more stable. It was still a little dangerous, but it was more stable than it is now. And I enjoyed it, and it just stole a piece of my heart. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's one of them subjects that I can't help but talk on, because I know what the people are just nice, and it's beautiful down there, man. But different era.
I just shared them on Facebook about them eating the zoo animals now.
Yeah.
And now that the government was giving them rabbits because they can't afford beef or chicken anymore,
Yeah.
and they don't want the rabbits. They're going to the parks and wherever they can find wild animals and just them.
Yeah.
It's just bad news.
Tough times, my friend.
At its worst.
Yeah, I do agree.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, appreciate your call, my friend. Thanks for tuning in. Check us out tomorrow.
I will. I'll watch you all day, man. You
All
have
right.
a good week.
Appreciate you too, buddy.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Great call there as well. Thanks, Mike. So we got a couple mics checking in tonight. Any other mics out there? This is a mic night. We got the mics on the line tonight. So somebody's trying to call in on the other line. Call in real quick. I'll take another call before we log off. Got to get my beauty rest. Got a busy day tomorrow. Got to get myself prepared for some more live stream talks to whatnot. So anyway, but I'm missing all types of stuff in the chat, man. I apologize. Anyway, so I posted that if you guys want to copy and paste this visual aid here and share it so people can just at least read it, they'll see everything going up, but yet, ain't much cash going to be going in their pocket unless they deliberately take it there. It says when crash happens, will paper checks make a comeback? Paper checks. Ooh, that's a good one. I don't think paper checks will make a comeback because if you're under 30, you don't know what a check is, more than likely. And on top of that, I don't think they even accept checks like that no more in stores. Like, I was in a store not long ago with one of my boys, and a lady was writing a check or something like that. And he was like, "What is she doing?" I'm like, "Writing a check. You can do that still, I guess." So I'm not sure. Not too many stores actually right? So we got Mike on here. We got Mike Ruiz. Was that Hammer? Oh, we got some mics in the building. What's up, gentlemen? Us mics must think alike. All right, got the last call here. Then we're going to log off for tonight and then get ready for tomorrow. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Craig out of Beaumont.
Craig out of Beaumont. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind tonight?
Pretty good. I was listening to your podcast and I was heard the guy that was talking about refinancing his house.
Yeah.
And I actually have an answer to that question.
All right, go ahead and give us some knowledge. Kick it for us. Share your opinion with us.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I'm just going to say that I'm not a professional and this is not professional advice.
Mm-hmm.
This is just my opinion.
Okay.
But what he needs to look at whenever you refinance a house in this time, you got to look at it as if you're buying a new real piece of property.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm saying is that you're not really moving, but it's still going to be looked at as a new purchase. So you're also going to be looking at a down payment.
Mm.
So my advice to that guy is that you want to go by the standard rules of a down payment, rule of thumb.
Mm-hmm.
They want to have, I think the rule of thumb, they want to have like either 5% or 6% down
mm-hmm.
of the cost, for the house. And then you also have your finance fees.
Okay. Okay, so he was under the impression that there would be like a little bit of a difference there, and he'll come out with a little bit of equity, as he was saying. So that might be the down payment cost at the end of the day, or something of that nature.
That's the trick.
Yeah.
See, the name of the game is to protect your equity.
Yeah.
So therefore, if you have no money, cash in hand,
mm-hmm.
to actually cover those costs, you're going to deplete your equity.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, you can actually wound up upside down.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, that's some good stuff, man. That's some good stuff there. So I thank you. Hopefully he's listening. If you called in, if you're the one with the question about the mortgage, I think it's from Chicago. I think was it Mike from Chicago? I think, give me a thumbs up, Mike, if you're here, because there's some good information just shared with you from another community member. So appreciate you for sharing that, man. That's definitely some stuff he should definitely consider, because that will eat up his little bit of equity out of that, and it's just in closing costs and everything else. So yeah, you might want to reconsider that, my friend, if that is the case. But definitely get some financial advice for sure. But yeah, at least you've been told by someone who got some knowledge. So appreciate you, my friend. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Thanks.
All right, have a good one.
All right, you too.
Yeah, kicking knowledge, man. That's great. It's good to have someone call in and share their opinion as well, man. That's why, we're about to wrap this up. It's been somewhat of an hour, give or take. I don't know what time I started. It was late. But it's always good to have people, listening and in tune and sharing your expertise, your thoughts, your opinions, because, at the end of the day, if you're watching us, the goal is to be, we're a community. We're a community of like-minded individuals that are concerned about what's happening, and we're all trying to better ourselves to be able to share this with our family and friends, hopefully, so that everyone can be prepared and brace for impact as best we can. So, as always, it's been fun, as always, kicking with you guys. I put the link for this here if you guys want to share this or look into it further for yourself. Feel free to do so. And other than that, tomorrow afternoon is going to be a full day, people. I want to invite you guys back, 12:30. Says get Gregory Manarino on the show. Antoine, definitely. I'm going to reach out to Greg tonight and see what he thinks and have him on, hopefully, if he's willing to join us again next week sometime, if he's available. And then anybody else, feel free to let me know. But if you're tuning in late, leave a comment down below your thoughts. And definitely, people, you are very privileged and blessed right now to have this graph in front of you to show you what's physically accessible to you if you can get your hands on it. So, get your weight up, but also get your hands on some paper and utilize that to acquire whatever it is you need to acquire while you still can, because like everywhere else around us, it's not my opinion. When stuff hits the fan, people run to the bank. They find out that what they thought was there ain't going to be there. So just something to think about, people. But anyway, enjoy yourself. If you have not, these links right here, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, connect with your boy. The Telegram link will be in here before in the description. Also, you want to be a blessing, Patreon, become a Patreon supporter. I would love to have your support in the community. And also, if you're a Bitcoin lover, want to send your boy some Bitcoin of any denomination, any kind, any amount will be appreciated. There's their my QR code up there. So other than that, love you guys. Appreciate you for tuning in. Be safe. And I'll see you tomorrow afternoon, 12:30 with Will Lear. Make sure you guys are there. Come with some questions, people. I need questions. Call in. Be there. Peace.